My first question is about the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like it's only right that we start there, right? So my question and the wording is key here is what is Philadelphia going to do here with this James Harden situation? Because it's not
you could have just ended it at what is Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's a great, honestly, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of people are talking about what they should do or what they shouldn't do, but everybody talks about Daryl Morey and how he is and how he plays certain situations. And so my burning question for you is what is going to happen here?
Man, your guess is as good as mine, honestly. I mean, from the latest updates, it seems like the Clippers and the Sixers are at least at trade discussion time, right? And it seems like, they're not meeting eye to eye. Personally, just going to get this out there. I think the whole idea that the Clippers aren't willing to include Terrance Mann in the deal is ridiculous. I've heard the conversations about, oh, well, you have to pay James Harden a max. Oh, well, you have to give up 2 first-round picks. Oh, well, you have to add salary on top of Terrance Mann in order to trade for James Harden. And all of that, in my opinion, is moot. The reason I say that is because James Harden fits with that team perfectly. You do have the contract situations of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard as well. Those are things you have to focus on this summer. This is the last shot because realistically, if they get hurt again, if they don't make it to the second round or conference finals, or dare I say a finals run, there's going to be tons of questions. They have an arena coming up. They need to have superstars to be able to have kind of going into that new arena. James Harden, despite, his age and where he's at in his career, is still a superstar name. He's actually a hometown superstar name as well. So, he's going to be able to fill seats. When I say James Harden makes tons of sense for the Clippers, I am without any hesitation, including Terrance Mann, including the 2 first-round picks, and including whatever salary is required in order to acquire James Harden. That's where I'm at from the Clippers' perspective. From the Sixers' perspective, you look at that package, you look at the return, if that ends up being the thing, if it ends up being Terrance Mann, 2 firsts, whatever. How do you reconcile that with Joel Embiid? And on the other side of that is like, how much longer can you really continue to do this over and over again? Now, I understand they have max money in the summer. They have more than max money. I think they can have 2 max slots next year, depending on the Tyrese Maxey situation. That's good. You can maybe attract some free agents. You can maybe trade, a big star into that slot as well. But it still kind of leaves me with questions. And I imagine Joel Embiid's patience is running thin. So to answer your question, what is the Philadelphia 76ers? What are they going to do? No clue, but the time is running out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think it's an interesting situation where we're in yet another situation where there's 2 teams, there's a very clear package on the table. Everyone's sort of expecting this one scenario to come to fruition. And one thing that I want to know, obviously this has been widely reported, but it's not just going to be James Harden necessarily going to the Clippers. You might get a PJ Tucker in there as well. You might get a Daniel House. And for the Clippers, yeah, it's a risk taking on James Harden, but for all the reasons you pointed out, it's something that they absolutely need to do. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting situation to follow, but I also won't be surprised if time keeps going on, the clock is ticking, and something else maybe jumps out and it does turn into a multi-team trade or something else does happen. I would say the Clippers obviously still make the most sense and will probably be what happens, but I'm very curious to see if we start to see any other situation gain any sort of traction.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think ultimately what Daryl Morey is waiting for is to see, 20 games into the season, 25 games into the season, which team starts to get desperate, right?
Yeah.
If the Miami Heat
100%.
start off 10-15 or something, I don't know. You know what I mean? If they're kind of sluggish out the gate, and they obviously struck out on Damian Lillard, they lost out Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, maybe there's something there, right?
Yeah.
I've always been intrigued by that fit. I can't really think of another team that might be able to go out and go for James Harden. But that being said, the longer Morey waits, the list of things that is available will also expand. Obviously, we know December 15th, a bunch of contracts that were signed this summer are able to be traded. January 15th, a bunch of contracts that were signed this summer will be able to be traded. So the longer they wait, the more options will be available to them. And maybe it isn't the Clippers. We just saw that with the Miami Heat. When there is just one desired destination, there's always going to be another team that sort of swoops right in and ruins these quote unquote sweepstakes. So
Right.
I don't know. It's probably not over yet. We're kind of nearing the points of no return. But I think that's what's going to be really interesting. I believe their first game is on Wednesday night. How that looks. Is James Harden really going to suit up for Nick Nurse and crew? I have no idea. How does Nick Nurse deal with all this is also going to be hilarious, because he's not a coach that is willing to kind of pull back his shots. He's very, very willing to kind of take shots if he needs to.
With the Los Angeles Clippers, assuming they don't get James Harden, is this the final year of the Kawhi PG core?
Yes.
No doubt.
I can say, yeah, 100%. No question. I think from their perspective, you look at Paul George, who's I think around 34, 35 years old,
Yep.
Kawhi Leonard, who's around that age as well. They're looking for big money. They're looking for contract extensions. And I'm kind of curious to see if the Clippers will actually double down on that and say, hey, we'll give you those max extensions, even though they've been injured. They haven't been able to play in games, specifically in Kawhi's case, but also in Paul George's case. So I think it would take some serious convincing for me to say the Clippers will look the same next year if they don't reach some sort of manageable goal. And a manageable goal, like what would that be? Like what is a manageable goal for the Clippers this year?
That's where I come back to.
Like second round, Western Conference Finals, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's really even tangible for this team, unless they go out and trade for James Harden and like, hey, we're back at square one here of how does this team look? So I don't know. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Clippers. I think among the conversations I've had with people don't think there is as much pressure because they've sort of seen what this team is and know that they're not going to be healthy and something's going to kind of shake out that way regardless. But I still feel like there's an immense amount of pressure because of the arena and because of the fact that they can't go into that arena saying, hey, we've got Terrance Mann, come and watch.
Yeah, that's a really big factor in all this. 100%.
So I think like the James Harden trade, it just makes so much sense. I don't understand what are we even doing here? I don't get it. Go back to our conversation at the beginning of this and listen to it again if you need to be more convinced. That's where I'm at with the Clippers.